Hello, and welcome to Comic Relief. My name is Miss V. I'm the Teen Services Librarian, and I am super excited to share with you today one of the things I love most in this world, comic books. Now, before we get started, there's something really important to know. All of the comic recommendations that I have for you today are physical copies of books that I happen to own, but you can still access them all for free through our online Hoopla app. So to do that, you're just going to go to our website, which is www.monrovalibrary.org. I see there's no www there, so really that part's optional. And then as soon as you get to our webpage, you're going to look for this icon, which says Library Anywhere. That's going to take you to a number of our online e-resources, including Hoopla, which is the one at the bottom that you want to look for. Hoopla is my favorite app that we offer. They have tons of things available for you to check out right now, including ebooks, audiobooks, music, movies and TV shows to stream, but best of all, in my opinion, comic books. So I wanted to take a chance to recommend to you some of my top choices of comic book reading during this unsettling time. If you're looking for something to take your mind off things or to give you a little bit of inspiration, I've got the recommendations for you. Now, today we're going to start with DC Comics. There are two major comic publishing companies, DC and Marvel. I grew up on DC Comics, and you can probably guess that this review may be a little biased in terms of which characters I recommend, but stay with me, I promise there'll be something for everybody. Okay, so DC Comics was founded in 1934. The company originally had a different name, that they became known as DC Comics as an abbreviation of one of their most popular lines, Detective Comics. Now, this is very appropriate that that was the comic series they would choose to take their name from, because one of the most well-known characters to originally appear in Detective Comics is Batman. Batman was created in 1939 by Bob Kane and Bill Finger, and I don't think there's anything more I need to say about who Batman is or what his deal is as a character. If you're watching this, you've heard of Batman. He's appeared in a number of television shows, cartoons, movies, and of course comic books. And so today I'm going to share with you some of my favorite comics featuring Batman or featuring characters that were first brought to life in the Batman universe. So first up, we have the all-new Batman the Brave and the Bold comic series by Sholey Fish, Rick Burton, and Dan Davis. This has Batman teaming up with various different characters from the DC universe, including Superman. We're going to get to Superman in a little bit. It's a very kid-friendly series, but I really recommend this one in particular because it's got a lot of heart, a lot of humor, and is just generally an inspiring, comforting comic book to read. So whether you're a kid or a kid at heart, Batman the Brave and the Bold is for you. Speaking of superhero team-ups, we also have one of my very favorite superhero team-ups right here, Batman and Superman. This is volume 1 by Jeff Loeb, Ed McGuinness, and Dexter Vines. Again, all available through Hoopla. Superman is a character who was introduced in 1938, a year before Batman. He was created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. Again, if you're watching this, you know Superman's deal, an alien from a destroyed home world who finds a new home among the people of Earth. Kind of like Doctor Who without the TARDIS. If you get that joke, award yourself 5 bonus geek points. Anyway, while some of the more modern takes on the Batman, Superman hanging out team up seem to feature them fighting each other, thanks in large part to the influence of the 1986 comic book series The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller, when the two characters were originally introduced to each other, they tended to get along and be friends. They tended to team up with each other. This series, which got its start in 2003, does show Superman and Batman as friends who are polar opposites in personality, but who nonetheless really understand each other in a way that few other characters can. So this series is fun, it's action-packed, and it's all about the friendship between the characters. There's kind of like a Sherlock Holmes, Dr. Watson vibe to them. And there's a lot of sequel volumes to sink your teeth into, also available on Hoopla. So then we come to one of my current favorite series. In fact, this series is ongoing. There's still new issues coming out, and I would say it is my favorite comic currently being published. Harley Quinn Volume 1, Harley vs. Apocalypse by Sam Humphries, John Timms, and Allison Borges. You've probably heard of Harley Quinn if you've seen the recent Birds of Prey movie or if you saw Suicide Squad a few years ago. Harley Quinn is an interesting character because she is a Batman character who was not introduced in the comics first. Harley Quinn debuted in 1992 in the Batman animated series that was being shown and made at the time. She was introduced as a one-off character who was going to be a girlfriend for the Joker, but she took off with such a fan base that they started doing more with the character. She's complicated. She started off as a villain, but has kind of wavered between anti-villain and anti-hero ever since. She's really come into her own in the comics and eventually on screen as a result of that. This is one of the later and less famous comic book series to feature the character, but writer Sam Humphries does an amazing job of imbuing this character with humor, heart, and growth. She is definitely not your traditional hero. She's got a trickster element to her, but she is definitely growing and learning and trying in her own mischievous way to do the right thing. So the first one is Harley vs. Apocalypse. I also particularly love Volume 3, which is The Trials of Harley Quinn. Definitely not to be missed. Definitely check them out. Whole lot of fun. Another favorite female Batman character of mine also started life as a supervillain. Catwoman Volume 1, Trail of the Catwoman by Darwin Cook and Ed Brubaker. Catwoman has come a long way in these pages from where she was when she first debuted in spring 1940 as the Cat, as a cat burglar foe. She actually literally wore a cat mask. It was very strange. But she took off as a character and was a formidable foe for Batman that he was very torn about. You know, he had feelings for her, but she still had to be stopped, so there was a lot of angst there in the beginning. But she's come a long way since then as just sort of like a roguish love interest for Batman, as often happens with popular villains like Harley Quinn. Catwoman would eventually become more of an anti-hero. So she still will steal to make her way in the world, but she's also keeping the streets of Gotham clean from the darker criminal element. This particular series by Darwin Cook and Ed Brubaker inspired the portrayal of Catwoman in Christopher Nolan's 2012 film The Dark Knight Rises, which is why Anne Hathaway is the best Catwoman ever. Fight me. Please don't fight me. All comic opinions are valid. For a shout out to my fellow millennials, a very special recommendation, Batman Beyond, Hush Beyond by Adam Beechin, Ryan Benjamin, and John Staniski. Batman Beyond series is kind of a fascinating idea. It again started life as a cartoon series back in 1999. The idea of the series is that Bruce Wayne has gotten older and had to retire as Batman and has now been replaced by a teenager named Terry McGinnis. I shouldn't say replaced because the two of them work together, more or less getting along, with Bruce serving as a kind of like Obi-Wan Kenobi mentor to the young Terry McGinnis. The animated series ended after 3 seasons and a very cool direct-to-video movie, but in 2012 the character was resurrected by Adam Beechin in this comic series continuation. This is one of my very favorite comics. It's a perfect blend between old Batman comics, the futuristic world of New Gotham, and it continues the father-son-like mentorship between Terry McGinnis, the new teenage Batman, and Bruce Wayne, our retired Batman. I will also brag that my copy does happen to be autographed, which I'm afraid you can't get through Hoopla, but I'm a nerd. I like to brag about my cool stuff. Okay, so the last one that I have saved to recommend to you is something a little bit different. This is called Dark Knight, a True Batman Story. It's written by Paul Dini with art by Eduardo Risso. When it says that it's a true Batman story, it means it's a true story. Paul Dini was one of the original writers on the Batman animated series in the 1990s. One of the main writers, in fact. And one night while he was walking home, he was attacked by a group of muggers. He was severely injured physically, but the attack also left him with his confidence and sense of self kind of shattered. It triggered something of a crisis of faith for him in his life, in his choices, and in himself. So, what he has done with this story is something that is fairly unique. He has taken the characters that he's always written about and shown them appearing to him as he's trying to come to grips with what's happened to him and figure out if the choices he's made are the correct ones and what this means for him moving forward. It is very much a story about growth, healing, and rediscovering yourself. It is a darker story. I would not recommend it for younger readers, but in its own way, it's a very inspiring story for this time. I think one of the reasons we love superheroes is because we all have one. And Batman in particular reminds us that we can all shine a light into the darkness and be a hero for one another. So I hope you enjoyed these recommendations. Be sure to check out all these graphic novels and many other like them for free through our Hoopla app. Again, to set up your Hoopla account, you can go to monroevillelibrary.org, go to the Library Anywhere link, and that will take you to the Hoopla website. If you don't currently have a library card, you can sign up for one for free on that same Library Anywhere icon. And I hope you enjoy. I will see you next week for part 2, in which I will take on Marvel. Happy reading, guys.